Everyone thought my wedding day would be the happiest moment of my life, but it turned into a public battlefield. My mother-in-law smiled through the ceremony while secretly turning my family against me, whispering lies and planting poison. 3 days before the wedding, my own parents backed out without warning. But instead of canceling the wedding, I smiled, walked down the aisle, and exposed her in front of 200 stunned guests. What she didn't know, I had receipts. And the entire room watched her fall from grace, second by second. Ever had someone smile to your face while stabbing you in the back? You're not alone. Drop a comment if you've dealt with toxic in-laws, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more true stories where karma doesn't miss. My name is Claire, and until recently, I thought I was just one of those lucky women who got the fairy tale, meeting the man of my dreams, falling in love, and planning the perfect wedding. Andrew wasn't just kind, funny, and smart. He was one of those rare guys who listened, who genuinely cared. We met at a nonprofit fundraiser 3 years ago. I worked in social services, helping low-income families find housing. He was an accountant who'd been dragged there by a friend, but we ended up talking the whole night. From the beginning, it was easy. We balanced each other. Where I was fiery, he was calm. Where I stressed, he reassured. He never made me feel small or foolish. When he proposed, kneeling under the twinkling lights of the botanical garden where we'd had our first real date, I said yes through tears. It felt like everything in my chaotic life had finally clicked into place. And then I met his mother, Janet. Even the name sent a chill through me now. Janet was poised, polished, wealthy, the kind of woman who never raised her voice because she didn't need to. Her silence alone could freeze a room. She ran charity boards like military operations and hosted parties where the wine cost more than my monthly rent. From day one, she made it clear, I was not what she had in mind for her only son. I just expected Andrew to settle down with someone a bit more refined, she said during our second meeting, sipping her tea like we were discussing curtain patterns. Not me. I was wearing a thrifted dress that day. It still makes me laugh bitterly. Andrew, bless his heart, always tried to play peacekeeper. She just needs time, he'd say. You're different from what she's used to, but she'll come around. But she didn't. She started small, subtle digs about my job, about how fulfilling social work must be, even if it doesn't pay much. Then came the suggestions, how we could save face by having a smaller wedding, or better yet, just eloping. She offered to pay for an intimate honeymoon instead, which sounded generous until you realized it was just a way to get rid of the big wedding I wanted. I tried. God, I tried to play along. I told myself it was just stress, just a proud mother having trouble letting go. Andrew asked me to give her grace, and I did, again and again. Even when she complained about my wedding dress being too modern. Even when she sent me alternate guest lists with names crossed out and others scribbled in, like she was editing a corporate event. She even offered to help with the wedding planning. That's when things got worse. Suddenly, vendors were changing. The florist I loved wasn't available. The photographer I'd chosen had mixed up dates, conveniently replaced by someone Janet personally recommended. My dream of a cozy, elegant garden wedding started slipping into something colder, flashier, something from her world, not mine. But I stayed quiet. I didn't want to cause drama. My own parents were out of state and not very involved. My mom had health issues and my dad was more hands-off emotionally. I figured once the wedding passed, things would get better. Looking back, I was naive. Then came the rehearsal dinner. Janet wore white. Not ivory, not cream. White. Full length, lace, like a damn bridal gown. Andrew was too polite to say anything, but I saw the looks from his cousins, from my bridesmaids. I pulled him aside and asked if he saw what she was doing. She probably didn't think about it, he said. You know how she is. Yes, I did know. And still, I said nothing. I kept the peace. I smiled. I swallowed every lump in my throat because I thought that's what you do when you marry into a complicated family. But Janet wasn't just complicated. She was strategic. And she wasn't done. 3 days before the wedding, I got a call from my mom. Her voice was cold, tight. "Claire," she said, "I don't think we'll be coming." I sat up straight in bed. "What? Why not?" She hesitated, then said quietly, "We got an email from Janet. She said some things about you." I felt the blood drain from my face. "What kind of things?" "She said you were marrying Andrew for his money, that you've been emotionally unstable lately, and that maybe we'd be doing you a favor by stepping back, letting you figure yourself out." I couldn't breathe. My own parents, already distant, already fragile, had been pulled even further away from me, manipulated, poisoned. I hung up the phone without another word and stared at the wall for a long, long time. That was the moment something inside me shifted. I was done smiling, done being the nice girl, done hoping Janet would come around. She wanted a performance? She was about to get one. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling while Andrew snored softly beside me. I kept replaying the phone call with my mom. Her tone, cold, confused, disappointed. The words emotionally unstable and gold digger looped in my mind like a cruel joke. This wasn't just meddling anymore. Janet had crossed a line. She hadn't just tried to control the wedding, she had tried to control me, to strip me of the little dignity I had left in her eyes and feed my parents a version of me I didn't even recognize. And worst of all, they'd believed her. I couldn't shake the feeling of betrayal, not just from Janet, but from my parents too. I wasn't particularly close to them, but this should have been different. This was my wedding. My family should have stood by me. Instead, they'd quietly backed away because of an email from her. I got out of bed, walked into the living room, and opened my laptop. I stared at the inbox for a minute, then started typing keywords. Janet, Claire, unstable, wedding. And there it was, forwarded by my mom, as if to prove she hadn't made it up. Subject line, for your consideration. It was several paragraphs long, polite, civil, vicious. She seems to be under a lot of stress. I've tried to support her, but her emotional outbursts have been concerning. I worry that her motivations aren't entirely rooted in love. Andrew has always been generous, and I fear that may cloud her judgment. Perhaps it would be better for everyone if you gave her some space until things stabilize. It ended with, "Please don't tell her I reached out. I just care about her well-being." I wanted to scream. What made it worse was the perfect grammar, the calm tone, the passive-aggressive kindness that wrapped every insult in a satin bow. I suddenly understood why people believed her. She didn't look like a villain. She looked like a polished, concerned parent. But I knew better, and I was done pretending I didn't. By morning, I had made my decision. The wedding would go on. But it wasn't going to be the wedding she thought she'd hijacked. No, it was going to be mine. And if she wanted to ruin it, she'd have to do it after watching herself be unmasked. I called my best friend Mia. Mia had been my roommate in college and was now a freelance video editor for documentaries and weddings. She had the skills, the software, and, thankfully, a healthy dose of righteous rage when I told her what happened. "Claire," she said, "tell me you have proof." I did. I had texts, voicemails, photos, screenshots. Over the past year, I'd documented dozens of little things because I'd started to feel like I was going crazy, gaslit at every turn. Comments like, "Claire's always so emotional," or, "You sure you want that dress?" had become normal, but they still stung. And now, they had a purpose. "I want you to make a video," I said, "one that starts like a wedding tribute. Something sentimental, sweet. But halfway through, it flips. Mia was quiet for a second, then whispered, like a trap door. Exactly, I said. Let her fall through it. We spent the next 48 hours working like madwomen. She edited while I curated content, finding clips, voice recordings, and even one blurry video of Janet literally ripping up our first set of invitations because she didn't like the font. I titled the project Gratitude. The plan was simple. During the reception, after the speeches, when everyone was relaxed and emotional, I'd ask to play a short thank you video for the family. Andrew would be surprised, of course, but I was counting on his trust. He still believed his mom was a little controlling, but ultimately harmless. He didn't know the full extent of what she had done. Not yet. I rehearsed what I'd say before the video. How grateful I was for everyone being there. How thankful I was to have become part of such a wonderful new family. A soft, heartfelt setup for what would follow. And in the meantime, I kept smiling. I didn't tell Andrew. Not because I didn't trust him, but because I knew he'd try to stop it. Not because he'd defend her, but because he'd want to protect me. From the fallout. From the drama. From having my wedding remembered as that wedding. But it already was that wedding. She had made it that wedding. I just decided to take the mic back. The night before the big day, Mia and I finished the video. It was 6 minutes and 32 seconds long. It started with childhood photos, sweet piano music, clips of Andrew and me at holidays, laughing at the beach, building furniture together. At 3:17, the shift began. The music slowed. The text messages appeared, white on black. Screenshots of her deleting vendors behind my back. Her messages to a mutual friend. Claire's taste is embarrassing. I'm saving this wedding. Then, audio. A voicemail I'd saved from 2 months ago. Janet's voice, low and clipped. She thinks she belongs in this family, but Andrew will wake up soon enough. The final shot? That blurry clip of her tearing up the invitation, caught on our home security camera when she came over unannounced. Mia watched it with me, both of us silent. When it ended, she exhaled slowly. Claire, that was brutal. Good, I said. She earned every frame. And when I finally went to bed that night, it was the first time in weeks I slept like a bride. A bride with a plan. The morning of the wedding was oddly peaceful. The sky was clear, the garden venue looked like a scene from a romance movie, and my hair and makeup turned out better than any trial. Everyone around me was buzzing with excitement, snapping photos, sipping champagne, fixing centerpieces. And there I was, calm, serene, focused, because I knew what was coming. I had rehearsed every word of my speech, practiced the moment I'd cue the video, and walked through all the possible reactions in my head. Tears, gasps, awkward laughter, maybe even a scene. But I didn't care anymore. I wasn't doing this for shock value. I was doing it to reclaim my voice. To make it clear I wasn't some fragile girl who had to be tolerated. I was marrying the man I loved, and I deserved to be seen. Andrew had no idea. That morning, he texted me the sweetest message. Can't wait to see you. I'm the luckiest guy in the world. I stared at the screen, heart aching a little. He didn't deserve what his mother had done either. He truly loved both of us, and she'd made him choose without even realizing it. The ceremony itself went beautifully. My dress, my choice, flowed in the breeze like something out of a dream. Andrew looked like he was holding back tears the whole time, and when we exchanged vows, I saw nothing but love in his eyes. Even Janet clapped politely and dabbed her eyes with a silk handkerchief, as if she hadn't orchestrated months of sabotage behind that expensive smile. I remember wondering, does she think she's won? If she did, she was about to learn otherwise. The reception was held under a canopy of string lights in the garden. There were about 200 people, family, friends, colleagues. The wine was flowing, laughter echoed across the lawn, and everything felt magical. After dinner, the toasts began. Andrew's best man cracked jokes about college, my maid of honor made everyone tear up with stories of our friendship, and Janet, of course, gave a carefully worded speech about welcoming Claire into the family and what it means to let go of a son. Everyone clapped. I smiled through clenched teeth. Then it was my turn. I took the mic, still in my gown, heels sinking slightly into the grass. The lights above gave everything a soft golden glow. I cleared my throat and smiled at the crowd. Thank you all so much for being here. It means more to me than I can say. Today hasn't just been about love, it's been about truth, and family, and gratitude. I paused, scanning the faces. Some were tipsy, some were emotional. Andrew gave me an encouraging nod. Janet sat at her table, hands folded, sipping champagne. I wanted to share something special tonight. A short video, a tribute to the people who helped us get here, the ones who stood by us, who supported us. A little thank you. I looked toward the DJ booth and gave a small nod. The lights dimmed. The video began. The video opened with soft piano music and golden hour photos of Andrew and me, us laughing on a road trip, baking cookies in my tiny apartment kitchen, slow dancing in our living room in pajamas. People sighed and smiled. A few guests wiped away tears. It was exactly the kind of sentimental montage you'd expect from a bride. Then came the voiceover. It was my own, pre-recorded. Love isn't just built on moments of joy, it's forged in moments of truth. The music began to shift, still delicate, but darker now, more haunting. The next photo was a screenshot, a text message, from Janet. Claire has no idea what she's doing. That dress makes her look cheap. A few murmurs rippled through the room. Then a voicemail played. Janet's voice. Calm, cold. I'm just saying, if she really loved Andrew, she wouldn't need a wedding this elaborate. She's showing off because she doesn't have anything else. I scanned the crowd. Eyebrows were lifting, glasses were set down, heads were turning. Janet froze in her seat. The footage continued. A screen recording of her deleting an email confirmation from our original florist, on my account. Then a photo of a torn wedding invitation, followed by a clip, blurry, grainy, but unmistakable, of Janet at our front door, tearing the envelope in half and shoving the pieces into her purse. Gasps broke out. Andrew leaned forward, his mouth slightly open, like his brain was still trying to process what he was seeing. And the video wasn't done. Next came the email, the one she'd sent to my parents. The entire text filled the screen, slowly scrolling as my voice read it aloud. She seems to be under a lot of stress. I'm concerned about her mental health. Perhaps distance would be a gift right now. A stunned silence fell across the lawn. No music, no narration, just the email, hanging there like smoke. I heard someone whisper, "Oh my God." Then the screen faded to black. Final slide. This was my thank you for showing me who really belongs in this family. When the lights came back on, I could feel the weight of 200 stares. No one clapped. No one moved. And then, finally, Andrew stood, slowly, quietly. He didn't look at me. Not yet. He looked at Janet. "Mom," he said, his voice low but steady. "Tell me that wasn't real." Janet's mouth opened, but no sound came out. Her cheeks were pale, her fingers trembling around her wine glass. "Tell me you didn't lie to her family. Tell me you didn't sabotage her wedding." Still nothing. Andrew turned to me. "Why didn't you tell me?" I swallowed the lump in my throat. "Because I needed you to see it. Not just hear it. See it." He looked like someone had knocked the air out of him. Then he nodded, turned back to Janet, and said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "You've always wanted me to choose. Fine, I choose Claire." A collective breath swept through the crowd, like a tension that had been building for months had just snapped. Janet stood up, red-faced now, and stammered, This was edited. You all saw what she wanted you to see." Someone in the back muttered, "But that was your voice." A woman at another table said, "I knew something was off. You've always acted like she wasn't good enough." And just like that, the shift happened. People who had once laughed at her jokes now avoided her eyes. Friends she'd held court with for years sat stone-faced, uncomfortable. No one came to her defense. She looked around, desperate, clutching her designer shawl like armor. And then, she left. Walked straight out of the reception, heels clicking on stone, head high but shaking. Alone. Andrew sat back down beside me, silent. I didn't say anything. I just took his hand. And he held it like he wasn't letting go again. Some people wear masks so well, they forget who they really are, until the truth rips it off in front of everyone. If that moment felt satisfying, hit that like button, share your thoughts below, and subscribe for more stories where karma comes dressed in white. After Janet stormed out of the reception, there was a strange, electric silence in the air, like everyone was waiting for someone to say the obvious. But no one did, not at first. People returned to their tables, slowly, uncertainly. Some looked stunned, others curious. A few guests approached me quietly, offering hugs or short, awkward phrases like, "Good for you," or, "That was powerful." One older woman, Andrew's great-aunt I'd only met twice, leaned in close and whispered, "It's about time someone stood up to her." Andrew, meanwhile, didn't leave my side. He held my hand like a man clinging to solid ground after a shipwreck. His eyes were heavy, not with anger, but with clarity. The kind that comes after denial dies. "I didn't know," he finally said. "I mean, I knew she was difficult, but not cruel." I nodded, unsure what to say. "She did this to my last girlfriend, too," he added, almost to himself. "Pushed her out. I thought maybe this time, it would be different." That hit me harder than I expected. So I wasn't the first target. I was just the first to fight back. The rest of the night moved like a surreal blur. We finished the reception, cut the cake, had our first dance, because I refused to let her ruin all of it. But beneath the music and laughter, I could feel a ripple moving through the crowd. Conversations behind napkins, side glances, quiet reckonings. And then the calls started. That night, after Andrew and I finally collapsed into our honeymoon suite, his phone lit up like a Christmas tree. Missed calls, voicemails, texts, some from relatives expressing support, others, not so kind. One message from his cousin read, "Dude, I don't know what you were thinking airing that out in public. Could have handled that privately." Another from Janet's best friend. "You humiliated her. She was crying in the parking lot. Was that really necessary?" But Andrew didn't flinch. He read them, sighed, and tossed the phone on the nightstand. "She cried in the parking lot?" he said. "After everything she put you through?" I didn't reply. I didn't need to. He already knew the answer. What came next, though, wasn't just social fallout. It was damage control. The next morning, we had breakfast with my maid of honor and her husband. She pulled out her phone and showed us what was already starting to circulate. Someone had uploaded a snippet of the video to TikTok. A 45-second clip of Janet saying, "She thinks she belongs in this family, but Andrew will wake up soon enough." The post had 18,000 views in 5 hours. By noon, it was at 50,000. "Claire," my friend said, "this is going viral." My stomach twisted, not with regret, but with anticipation. This wasn't just a wedding drama anymore. This was a reckoning. The real confrontation wasn't just between me and Janet. It was between her and the truth, and the world was starting to watch. Janet didn't stay silent for long. 2 days after the wedding, While Andrew and I were still on a short local honeymoon, she resurfaced on Facebook. She posted a long message, one of those overly formal, scripted notes that tried to play both victim and martyr. I want to publicly apologize if anything I said or did caused pain to Claire or Andrew. Planning a wedding is emotional for everyone, and I simply wanted the best for my son. Sometimes, when emotions run high, things are misinterpreted. I've always wanted the best for our family. It ended with, I hope this message brings peace and encourages healing. Love, always. Janet. I stared at the screen in disbelief. Misinterpreted? She didn't deny anything. She just rebranded her manipulation as misguided love. And then the comments started rolling in. At first, they were sympathetic. Her friends, most of them women from her charity circles, wrote things like, "You have such a kind heart. People just don't understand tough love. They didn't have to humiliate you like that. Sending hugs, Janet. You're a wonderful mother." But then came the others, strangers, internet users, people who had seen the viral video. Lady, your tough love was straight-up emotional sabotage. You called your DIL unstable and tore up her wedding invites. Not exactly a hallmark moment. Respectfully, sit down. Her post was shared on a local wedding drama subreddit, then on Facebook wedding groups. The video clip passed 300,000 views. Someone even added dramatic music and labeled it Mother-in-Law Meltdown of the Year. Janet had spent years cultivating a reputation as the elegant, unshakable matriarch, but the internet didn't care about her garden parties and silent auctions. The internet only saw the receipts, and they were damning. Still, she wasn't done. She called Andrew. I could hear her voice through the speakerphone, measured but quivering. Andrew, I can't walk into the grocery store without someone recognizing me. Do you understand how this affects my reputation? Your father's legacy? Andrew sat on the edge of the hotel bed, pinching the bridge of his nose. You did that to yourself, he said. I didn't make you send that email. I didn't make you lie to Claire's family. And I certainly didn't make you rip up our invitations like a toddler. She sniffled. I was just trying to protect you. From what? From being loved? From marrying someone who doesn't care about your money or your status? There was silence on the line. Then she said, barely above a whisper, She'll ruin you. Andrew looked at me. He smiled. She already made me better. And with that, he hung up. It was over. There were no more attempts to reach out after that. No more posts. No teary voicemails. Just silence. The kind of silence that follows an earthquake. She didn't show up to the small dinner we hosted the next week with my side of the family. She didn't send a gift. No card. Nothing. And honestly, it was perfect. For the first time since I said yes to Andrew, I felt like I could breathe. The villain had unmasked herself, and the entire world had watched. The silence that followed Janet's fall from grace wasn't just absence, it was freedom. For the first time since our engagement, Andrew and I weren't walking on eggshells. No more cryptic texts. No more passive-aggressive suggestions disguised as concern. No more emotional booby traps in every phone call. She was gone. Completely. And in her absence, something surprising happened. We found space to breathe, to reset. Not just our boundaries with her, but with everyone. We started small. Andrew changed his phone number. He didn't even hesitate. If she wants to talk, he said, she can go through a therapist. I cleared out a storage bin of wedding decor Janet had insisted we include. Faux crystal napkin rings, hideous gold-dipped candles, all of it, into the trash. It wasn't about being petty, it was about reclaiming my space. Then we talked, really talked, about everything. We sat on our porch with coffee and no phones, just listening to the summer wind and opening every wound that had been left to fester over months of manipulation. Andrew admitted he'd felt stuck, trapped between guilt and fear. She raised me to believe loyalty was everything, he said. But she meant loyalty to her, not to what's right. I admitted I'd felt like I was constantly auditioning for a role I never wanted, the perfect daughter-in-law. And no matter what I did, I said, I was always too much or not enough. We cried, we laughed bitterly, and slowly, we healed. The most important thing we did? We built new rules, boundaries, real ones. We agreed. No more second chances without accountability. No more assuming family means permission to harm. And most of all, no more silence to keep the peace. We let people show us who they really were, and we believed them. And that meant some relationships didn't survive. A few of Andrew's extended family members quietly distanced themselves, clearly uncomfortable with how public things had become. One aunt sent a terse message saying she was disappointed in us for airing private matters. We didn't respond. We didn't need to explain ourselves anymore. What mattered was the people who did show up. My parents, shaken after realizing how they'd been manipulated, flew in 2 weeks later to see us. My mom cried when she hugged me. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I believed her, and I shouldn't have." I didn't give her forgiveness right away, but I gave her a chair at our table. That night, we made a simple dinner: grilled chicken, fresh salad, lemon pie, and talked about everything but the wedding. It was awkward. It was fragile. But it was real. A beginning, not a fix. And that was enough. As for Andrew and me, we made a promise. No more grand gestures for anyone else's approval. No more big shows. No more trying to prove ourselves. We'd already done that once. Now, it was just us. And that was finally enough. It's funny how the most painful moments become the ones that finally teach you peace. A few months after the wedding, Andrew and I hosted a small dinner in our backyard. Just close friends, a few supportive relatives, and my parents. No flower walls, no catered appetizers, no curated photo booths. Just string lights, mismatched chairs, and real laughter. Mia brought her famous sangria. My mom brought a blueberry pie. And Andrew grilled ribs like he was trying to impress my side of the family now. For the first time in a long time, I looked around the table and didn't feel judged, or inspected, or like I had to earn my place. These were our people, people who didn't need perfection, just honesty. As the sun dipped low, one of our friends raised a toast. To Claire, for showing us what grace under fire really looks like. Everyone clinked glasses. I smiled. Not because I needed the praise, but because for the first time, I believed it. I wasn't the scared, anxious fiancé anymore. I wasn't trying to prove my worth to someone who'd already decided I wasn't enough. I was done chasing approval, done playing nice with people who only loved the version of me they could control. I was finally me. Janet never reached out again. Word traveled that she'd taken a step back from society events after her public image took a hit. Apparently, her charity board asked her to resign quietly after a few donors voiced concerns about her judgment. One of the women she used to boss around at fundraisers posted a cryptic message on Facebook that read, "When the queen loses her crown, you see how fast the court disappears." I didn't gloat. I didn't need to. Karma had a better memory than I did. Andrew processed it all in his own time. Sometimes he'd grow quiet during car rides, staring out the window, and I'd know he was thinking about her. Not out of longing, but grief. Grieving the mother he wished she had been. One night he said, "It's like she raised me to be a good man, then hated me for choosing someone who actually brought out the good." I held his hand. "You chose yourself," I said. "That's what scared her." He nodded. "And I'd choose us again. Every time." Since then, life has been quiet, but in the best way. We planted a vegetable garden. We adopted a rescue dog who insists on sleeping between us. We fight over groceries and laugh at old sitcoms and leave love notes in lunch bags like corny teenagers. Our life is ordinary and beautiful, and finally, ours. Every now and then, someone recognizes me at the farmer's market or during a work event. They'll ask, "Hey, are you the bride from that video?" And I'll smile, nod, and say, "Yeah, that was me." And most of the time, they'll say something like, "You were brave." But here's the truth. I wasn't trying to be brave. I was just done being silent. And sometimes, choosing to speak, loudly, clearly, unapologetically, is the most powerful revenge of all.